Before the high, there is the ritual. The prayer begins before the substance arrives, and the answered call, and the waiting, and the message that says, I'm on the way. The careful arrangement, the measured hands, the familiar sounds repeated like sacred language. A flick, a crush, a line, a spark, a breath held between desperation and relief. The body already knows the ceremony. Even before the substance arrives, something inside begins to unclench. Because the mind has learned that preparation itself is part of salvation. And for a moment, the noise disappears. The craving mind grows silent with the stillness of a believer waiting for a sign from God. Every movement becomes liturgy. Repeated so many times, the ritual no longer feels chosen but ordained. And somewhere inside the silence, the prayer begins, long before the chemical ever touches blood. At first, the substance feels like connection, a bridge between people, a loosening of silence, a borrowed warmth passed between trembling hands. But slowly, the world outside the ritual begins to dim. Phone calls go unanswered, rooms grow quieter, faces become distant constellations, seen only through smoke, through powder, through the blur of chemical devotion. The spirit reshapes itself around the dependency. Not all at once, but carefully. Like a cathedral being rebuilt to house a single God. Relationships are displaced by a colder intimacy. The ritual becomes the companion. The substance becomes the comfort. The altar becomes the center of the internal universe. And the body, once a sanctuary for living, slowly transforms into something else. A sacred structure being dismantled by its own liturgy. Every sleepless night, every neglected wound, every promise traded for one more moment of relief. The architecture weakens, but the worship continues. And somewhere beneath the ceremony, the person who entered the cathedral begins to disappear. There was a time the miracle felt real. The first encounter arrived like revelation. A sudden silence in the chaos, a warmth moving through the body like forgiveness, a fleeting illusion that something broken inside had finally been repaired. But gods built from chemicals do not keep their promises. Over time, the peace begins to thin. The high grows distant, muted, unreachable. And still, the worship continues. Because addiction is not merely the pursuit of pleasure. It becomes the ritual of trying to return to a moment that no longer exists. So the ceremonies intensify. More calls, more risk, more sacrifice, longer nights spent bargaining with a silent God. The devotee keeps searching for the first revelation, trying to resurrect a feeling that has already become a ghost. But the substance no longer delivers transcendence. Only maintenance, only escape from collapse, only temporary relief from the hunger it created. And somewhere between the ecstasy of the first encounter and the hollow terror of the current cycle, the worshiper realizes they are no longer chasing the high. They are chasing memory. In the end, the altar remains, long after the meaning has vanished. The rituals continue, but devotion has become hollow. Movements repeated from memory, ceremonies performed without transcendence, prayers spoken to a God that no longer answers. The substance once promised escape, connection, relief, transformation. But now, it simply consumes, slowly emptying the chambers of the mind it once illuminated. And the worshiper is left wandering the ruins of an internal cathedral built entirely around survival. The body bears the scripture of devotion, the exhaustion, the trembling hands, the fractured sleep, the relationships reduced to echoes. Every sacrifice offered to keep the altar standing. And somewhere within the collapse comes the final question. What remains of a person once the chemical god is finished feeding on the psyche? When the miracle disappears, when the rituals lose meaning, when the worship survives but the soul no longer recognizes itself, what is left kneeling at the altar? Perhaps that is the quiet horror hidden beneath addiction. The human longing for transcendence redirected into powder, crystal, smoke, or pill. A desperate search for salvation inside something, never capable of granting it.
Come closer. I know what hurts. I know what shakes inside you when the room goes quiet. Let me hold it for a while. Just follow the ritual. Just one more prayer, one more offering, one more night inside my sanctuary. I can make you lighter, softer, less afraid of yourself. See? Relief. Now give me more! More time, more money, more sleep, more pieces of your name! You don't need them anymore. Only me. You built the altar for a reason.
I did not notice when the voice changed. At first, it sounded gentle, like mercy, like relief, like something reaching for me inside the dark.
Come closer. I can make this hurt less. I can make you whole again.
And for a while, it kept its promise. But hunger changes gods. The softer voice sharpened over time, becoming something desperate, something ravenous.
More. Again. Feed me. You built this altar for me. Now worship.
And somewhere beneath the ritual, I realized the thing I thought was saving me had begun consuming me alive. The voice grew crueler over time. Not loud.
Admit it. You are this now. You'll never outrun me. You were always coming back.
The altar felt impossible to escape. But somewhere beneath the hunger, another voice remained, bruised, exhausted, barely audible, still saying, I will not fold.